Atlanta, we have a problem, and it's Kirk Cousins. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't good week one. It's been a long-awaited Falcons debut for Kirk. He got paid a lot of money, and the Falcons still shockingly took Michael Penix at the draft, and it's starting to maybe make more sense now. We learned a lot on Sunday, and I think the biggest takeaway is Kirk isn't 100%, and it wasn't very hard to tell. Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles on October 29th, less than 11 months ago. He's 36 years old now, and an Achilles injury like that can be brutal. And it seemed very obvious. He wasn't full strength. The Falcons only ran one offensive play under center and ran 26 plays out of pistol and 22 out of shotgun. Reminder, Kirk had never taken more than 10 plays out of pistol in a game, and the Falcons were incredibly unproductive in pistol. I have a hard time believing the offense would have ran the same if he were completely healthy. The Falcons are still claiming he's okay. Raheem Morris said he's been healthy since he got to Atlanta, which I really don't believe, but maybe Morris and offensive coordinator Zach Robinson knew Kirk needed to be protected, and that's why the offense was ran that way in week one. Admittedly, a 36-year-old coming off of an Achilles injury could result in a lot of rust, or maybe he just doesn't believe in his Achilles yet during game speed. There are a lot of potential reasons why it was so bad. It is a new offense and a lot of new players around him he doesn't necessarily have a rapport with yet. It's a new system, and he's coming off of an injury. There are reasons, but nothing I saw made me think he was healthy. He was so immobile in the pocket, it felt like he was trying to get the ball out immediately, no matter what, and forcing some throws. And yes, Kirk has made a living getting rid of the ball fast, but he isn't repositioning his body as much, and he didn't try to extend plays at all. It was get the football out as soon as possible every time with no interest in extending a play, and it showed. If you were to go back and watch every snap, I don't know how you could watch him and think he's 100% good to go. There were a lot of expectations for Kirk on the Falcons. There is a lot of talent there, and he had the ability to tap into it, but it just didn't look great against the Steelers. Kirk went 16 of 26 for 155 yards and did throw a touchdown to Kyle Pitts, but also tossed 2 interceptions. I like Kirk Cousins a lot. I was even rooting for the Falcons to start this season just because of Kirk Cousins. Being a Washington fan, I loved him back in the day. I rooted for him when he was on the Vikings, and I thought Atlanta was such a perfect spot for him. There is so much talent on that offense, and he was playing at a very high level before he got injured last season. He was leading the league in touchdowns when he got hurt last season. I thought he was well on his way to an MVP level season playing with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. He was in a good spot with a good head coach in Kevin O'Connell, in my opinion. There was so much excitement, and I thought the Falcons was going to be a perfect spot, already knowing Raheem Morris, being able to step into an offense where the offensive line was going to be able to protect him, and he was going to have good talent around him. And it's just incredibly disappointing to see him week one not looking very healthy. It seems like that Achilles very much is still bothering him, and it makes me worry for the rest of the season, and if he even plays not just his second and third year on this contract, but if he finishes this year. A lot of what I thought the Falcons could be this season was based on Kirk Cousins' performance before the Achilles injury, and now I wonder how healthy he'll be again. An Achilles injury is so complex and it lingers. If he can't be any bit more mobile, it's going to be hard to say he's the Falcons starter. When he was in Washington, I thought he was best during play action. He had a ton of success with play action with the Vikings, but if he's not able to move much now, play action isn't going to be easy. It's a huge part of his game, but looks non-existent right now. It leaves a real question of whether or not Atlanta would be better off with a different quarterback like Michael Penix. If the Falcons knew Kirk wasn't progressing well, or were super worried about the injury, it'd be insane to give him a 4-year, $180 million contract. Maybe the risk was worth the reward, but it'll hurt if Kirk isn't even starting. And it makes makes a lot more sense for why the Falcons did draft Penix. Taking Penix at 8 is still just an absurd pick based on where he was projected to go, but it makes a little more sense now why the Falcons so quickly pulled the trigger on a quarterback. It didn't make any sense to draft an older rookie quarterback if Kirk Cousins was set to be the starter for the next 3 years, but maybe Atlanta didn't think he could start for the next 3 years. That would make a lot of sense. So how soon do we need to see improvement from Kirk Cousins? It's a hard question. The Falcons did come into the season with some serious expectations. It's not like the Broncos, who aren't expected to be any good, and it makes more sense to start Bo Nix and prepare for the future. Atlanta is a lot closer to being able to win now, maybe even now. The NFC South is weak, and the Falcons could make a run at the division title. So Atlanta wants to win now. It's why Kirk Cousins did make more sense than selling out for a rookie quarterback and trying to develop. But it's possible the Falcons have had to settle for a hybrid of the veteran and a rookie. Penix had 6 years to develop in college. He's already 24 years old and a rookie. If the Falcons think he would be more suited to play than Kirk, it would make sense. Penix certainly isn't a mobile quarterback, but Kirk can't move much, it looks like, as it is. The offense is set up to succeed, and the reality is Kirk should be able to win with the weapons around him. The Falcons, again, have a good offensive line littered with first-round picks, and there are really talented weapons. Kyle Pitts has so much talent, and maybe he can finally make the jump with a competent quarterback like Kirk. Bijan Robinson's a fantastic running back and very young. Drake London is a talented wide receiver, and I love seeing Darnell Mooney as the two. There is a reason the Falcons signed a veteran and didn't just tear it all down. Atlanta thinks it can win now. The offense is good. Now, the defense has more questions. It's not as good. It's probably why Raheem Morris was hired as the head coach and Jimmy Lake to be the defensive coordinator. The defense has to improve. The offense should improve just if Kirk can play some solid football, but the defense kind of needed an overhaul while also keeping some good pieces, and it's clear the defense was a big importance. The Falcons signed safety Justin Simmons and traded for linebacker Matthew Judon, just two huge pickups. Safety Jesse Bates is back for year 2, and drafted guys like cornerback AJ Terrell and edge rusher Grady Jarrett are still on the defense. There is a clear path ahead for success for the Falcons. A lot of it is going to come back to Kirk Cousins, of course, but there's a ton of talent, and if Kirk is hurt and Michael Penix is the better option, Atlanta has to make the change. I did not like the Michael Penix pick at first at all. It didn't make any sense to me. I haven't been a fan of the Falcons drafting for the last while now. Truthfully, I hated the Bijan Robinson pick. I feel like there's so much talent there in the draft, and to take Bijan Robinson high, I don't like it. And the same goes with Michael Penix. He's a guy that I believe they could have gotten much later than he went. Of course, JJ McCarthy went after him. Even Bo Nix went after him. Michael Penix had some great moments in college, but we are talking about a guy who has been very injury prone, especially during his time at Indiana, but he was a fantastic player at Washington. He already is experienced. He's been around the block. He's played for a long time. He's played in a national championship game in college. I think he's a guy that doesn't have a super high ceiling like the Caleb Williams, Drake May, or the Jaden Daniels, and that's why he didn't go top 3. But Michael Penix can be a good NFL quarterback. He could perhaps be a Kirk Cousins level quarterback, and that's why if he can develop to that point, he's the guy to start. The right decision is to start Michael Penix if Kirk Cousins is hurt. All that said, maybe Kirk Cousins comes out and slowly starts to look better. Maybe he was just getting some rust off. Maybe he just doesn't fully believe in that Achilles yet. But if he continues to play the way he did in week 1 and look completely immobile and unable to even move in the pocket and just force the ball out, then it's not going to work all season. And the Falcons need to make the right decision and do what's best for the team. And maybe that is still Kirk Cousins, but maybe it's Michael Penix.